Hey guys, it's Cameroon and welcome back to another video. Now the Overwatch League is finally back again after a 3-week break, and you know what that means? It's time for some more pick'ems. Man, does it feel good to say that again. Anyways, if you don't know what this video is about or haven't watched any of my other pick'em videos, I basically go over the current Overwatch League week and give my predictions with a little bit of explaining to why I made them. These next upcoming weeks are going to be slightly different than the previous ones, with them starting on Saturdays rather than Fridays, and since the East region is already in the summer stage knockouts. What does that mean? Well, this video is going to be covering 2 double elimination brackets for the East region, but then still the regular matches for the West. Now, if you don't have a lot of time to listen to me explain everything, just like every other prediction video, I'll have a chapter where you can skip ahead to see my pick'ems. If you end up doing that, maybe just leave a like on the video, and if you want more, subscribing is always a nice way to let me know. Be sure to check out these videos on the screen right now if you're new to pick'ems and the Overwatch League. They'll get you set up for earning OWL tokens and more. But now, let's get into week 5 of the summer stage qualifiers, or week 13. Okay, this time I'll start with the West first, since their games are still in the regular season. And so the first match we have is London Spitfire versus the Los Angeles Valiant. Now, of course, this is a new meta. I don't really know what's going to be played. I think Alari and Torb is in it. Again, I don't know if that's going to be true or not. I'm going to base this more on the fact of which team I think is better, and also the fact that Flashpoint is in it as well. So if I'm going to go with that, I think Flashpoint is a very rush-heavy type of game mode, and I know that London Spitfire is really good at the rush. Valiant is good too. You'll probably see a Ramatra versus Reinhardt battle. I'm going to give it to London Spitfire and just say 3-2. I believe in Chatty. And that's pretty much it. Moving on, we have the Houston Outlaws versus the Las Vegas Eternal. I don't think Eternal's getting a win this season, and that's sad. And their win is definitely not going to be against Houston Outlaws, so it's going to be 3-0 for the Houston Outlaws. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Reign versus the Washington Justice. Atlanta Reign is still the top team in the league. Florida is getting close. They did beat them too, but this isn't about Florida right now. This is about Washington Justice trying to beat Reign, which I don't think is going to happen. Even if Rush is somehow the meta comp and Reinhardt's being played and you got Ben Best on Reinhardt, I don't see them being able to beat Atlanta Reign. I'll give them a map though and say Atlanta Reign wins 3-1. And then for the final match of Saturday, we have the Los Angeles Gladiators versus the New York Excelsior. LA Gladiators have been playing extremely poorly. I don't even think they're going to make it into the knockouts for the West region. However, with the new meta and the fact that I have no idea what's going to be played, I'm going to go with which players I think are better. And I think Gladiators have the better players. And so with this new meta, I think the Gladiators will take it 3-2 against the New York Excelsior. It's going to be a hell of a close match, but I think Kevster is really going to pull through. Then moving on to the next day, we have the Boston Uprising versus the Florida Mayhem. Now, Boston was really strong with the Winston Tracer Sombra meta dive. They weren't better than Atlanta Reign, of course, but they excelled quite well in that meta. However, this isn't going to be that meta, and a lot of these players are going to be moving away from their comfort picks probably. And if there's one team that you can say is very flexible, it's going to be the Florida Mayhem. So I easily see the Florida Mayhem taking this win. It's not going to be a 3-0, but I think Mayhem will take it 3-1. Then we have the Toronto Defiant versus the Vancouver Titans. This is going to be a close match. It's 50-50 regardless. You could choose Vancouver Titans or Toronto Defiant. They're both very good, solid teams, and with a new meta, either side could take it. I'm going to personally go for Toronto Defiant 3-2, but don't be afraid to go 3-2 Vancouver Titans, because this is going to be a great match, and it might be the match of that day, even with Boston Uprising versus the Mayhem. And finally, we have the Las Vegas Eternal versus San Francisco Shock. And this will be the end of the Vegas Eternals season. They'll be winless because they are not being the Shock, especially if I go off of who has the better players. Even though Knife is insane, let's be honest. I'm going to give Knife credit. He's a great player. I wish he was in the season way earlier than he was. And I feel like Vegas could have taken a map if he was on their team since day one, but he wasn't. So that being said, I think San Francisco Shock is going to take this 3-1. I'll give Vegas a little bit of credit, but other than that, I think that Vegas is ending their season with no wins whatsoever. Now let's move on to the East region. We have 2 double elimination brackets to cover, so get some popcorn and let's dive right into them. I'll try not to explain too much of these matches because it'll just take even longer than it's already going to take. I'll start with the Summer Knockouts East A and then move on to the East B after. So the first match we have is Pokerface Gaming versus Panthera. Panthera is the better team, so I'm going to give them the win, and I'll say it's 3-1. Then moving on, we have Rhodes versus the Dreamers. I'm a believer of the Dreamers, still am, even though they lost a couple of times. I think they're going to win 3-1. Then we have Panthera versus the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel is the better team. They are playing great. Even with a new meta, I still think they're going to win. I'm going to say they're going to win 3-0. They're going to leave a statement with that one. Then we have the Dreamers versus the Hangzhou Spark. Spark's going to win this. Sorry, Dreamers. I wish you could win, but I'm going to say 3-1 for the Hangzhou Spark. Going to the elimination round, we have Pokerface Gaming versus the Dreamers. I'm a believer in the Dreamers, like I said before. I say they're going to take it 3-1. Then we have Rhodes versus Panthera. And again, I think Panthera is going going to win this 3-0. I don't think Rhodes is that strong of a team. I know they're good, but when I think of contenders teams, Panthera and the Dreamers, O2 Blast, they kind of stick out way more than Rhodes. And I apologize if you're a big Rhodes fan. Then we have, of course, the Dallas Fuel versus the Hangzhou Spark. Even though Spark did beat Fuel last time, it's a new meta, and I think it's going to favor off tanks. Dallas Fuel has Hanbin. He's an off tank player. I say Dallas Fuel is going to win this 3-1. Then we have the Dreamers versus Panthera. This is going to be a good match. I'm going to go with the Dreamers, but if you put Panthera, that's not a bad choice either. I say it's going to be 3-2 in favor of the Dreamers. Then the next match we have is the Dreamers versus the Spark, and it's so sad to say this because I would love if the Dreamers could make it to the finals and make it to the playoffs. That'd be amazing, but I know they're not, which makes me sad. I'm going to say Spark wins this 3-1. And then finally, we have the finals for East A, and that's going to be Dallas Fuel versus the Hangzhou Spark. Dallas is going to take this. Remember, these matches are best 4 out of 7, so instead of it being only like 3-2, it can go up to like 4. I think Dallas Fuel is going to win this 4-2 against the Hangzhou Spark. And it's sad to say because I would love to see Cheyenne leave in the playoffs, but I don't think this meta is going to favor the Hangzhou Spark, even though they're going to beat all the contenders teams. I say that, but honestly, don't be surprised if the Dreamers make it because of the fact that the Spark have to play a different meta. Keep that in mind. Now we'll move on to the East B stage. The first match we have is Guangzhou Charge versus O2 Blast. I don't know what's up with the Charge. I'm not going to explain too much, but I think O2 Blast is just going to beat the Charge 3-1. The Charge just haven't been playing well. I'm sorry. They just haven't. Then we have SPG versus the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai Dragons, you gotta win this. You can't let a contenders team beat you. I'm gonna say 3-1 for the Shanghai Dragons. Then we have O2 Blast versus Soul Infernal. Soul Infernal is gonna win this 3-0. I don't think even the meta is going to affect them too much. They've got great players, and so I think Soul Infernal is gonna take it. And then we have Shanghai Dragons versus Seoul Dynasty. I think Seoul Dynasty is gonna win this one as well, but Shanghai will at least take a map. Then going to the elimination rounds, we have Guangzhou Charge versus the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai, I'm believing in you. I just don't know why, but honestly, my faith in the Charge has been dwindling every single time I see them play. And so I'm going to go Shanghai Dragons win 3-1. Then we have two contenders teams facing each other, SPG versus O2 Blast. O2 Blast is usually the better team, so I'm going to go with O2 Blast. And I'm going to say it's 3-2. It's going to be a close match, and it might actually be really good to watch. And then moving on to the winners round, we have the Soul Infernal versus the Soul Dynasty, the battle for Soul. But we all know that Infernal is better than Dynasty, and I think even with the new meta, Dynasty is not going to win this. I'm going to say it's going to be closer, though. I'm going to go with 3-2. Soul Infernal beats Soul Dynasty. And then moving on to the elimination rounds again, we have Shanghai Dragons versus O2 Blast. Shanghai Dragons, you gotta make it into the top 3. I say Shanghai's gonna take this 3-2. Next, we have Shanghai Dragons versus the Soul Dynasty. Soul Dynasty is gonna take this. It's gonna be maybe 3-1. I don't see Shanghai beating Dynasty. And then we move on to the finals, which is Soul Infernal versus Soul Dynasty again. Remember, these matches are best 4 out of 7. I personally believe that Soul Infernal is going to take this 4-1. I still think that they are the strongest team in the East region, and they are better than Dallas Fuel. And here are my Week 5 Summer Stage qualifiers and East Knockout Brackets pick'ems. Now, I'm hoping the new meta is good. I have no clue what it really is. I've heard that Torb is in it and Alari, but I'm not sure if that's just the Overwatch League community memeing or if it's serious. I made these predictions with that a little bit in mind, but mainly which team I think is just better. Honestly, as long as we just don't have to watch Winston, Tracer, Sombra metas, I'm happy. Of course, my predictions are not guaranteed to be right, so if any of these don't look right to you, go with your gut, especially the Dreamers. Let's hope for an amazing weekend of matches. Remember, the East Region streams start on Saturday, August 26th at 1 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, or 9 a.m. UK Time, and the West Region streams start on Saturday, August 26th at 12 p.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, or 8 p.m. UK time. So be sure to submit your pick'ems before those times. Anyways, if you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. And yeah, enjoy watching the Overwatch League this weekend. I will talk to you all soon.